Icon or enigma, billionaire or disruptor, whatever you want to call him, Donald Trump is a force like no other. But what's really behind all that bravado, the catchphrases, and that stellar personality? Today we will delve deep into what makes Donald Trump tick and why understanding it will change your mind on ambition, resilience, and success. Stick around, because this gets interesting. In my last video, we discussed the mindset and the qualities that Donald Trump has. And we sort of separated him from those qualities to kind of save emotion, kind of save that resistance that most of us get when we hear his name. But as we get closer to 2025, we must take the time to analyze the person who's going to be the 47th president of the United States. We must understand his lifestyle, how he thinks, why he is the way that he is, and what has caused him to be such a great success. We must take the time to realize that we are currently making history. We're at a time where things have changed, where things are changing, and we have to ground ourselves and realize we are making history. Today, right now, is going to be written in the history books that are going to be told long after we are gone. We have been blessed to be alive during a time where a man comes in and changes the whole game.
Here in Europe, I think leaders are bracing for what another Trump term could mean after threats to end military aid to Ukraine and withdraw US support for NATO allies. President Zelensky appealing to Trump today to maintain support. Putin plans to congratulate Trump, calling the US an unfriendly country. I think China also is going to have concerns after threats on tariffs and the dangers of a trade war. Parts of South America and Mexico too are going to have cause to worry about Trump's threats about migration and also about tariffs.
Let's delve deep into the life of Donald Trump. To understand Trump, we have to first understand where he picked up these traits. That crazy ambition, that drive that he has, that he carries with him to this day. Well, he got it from no other than his father, Fred Trump. Fred Trump, the man to your right, was Donald Trump's biggest inspiration growing up. Now, Fred Trump was an immigrant who came from nothing and worked his way up to the status of a multimillionaire. Now, Fred Trump was a very, very hardworking man. Donald Trump has been quoted saying, and I quote, "My father was able to put in 9 days of work in just a 7-day work week." Incredible. But he was also very smart. See, the way that Fred made his fortune was he took advantage of a government-funded program that was incentivizing developers to create apartment complexes for the common man after World War II. Now, Fred Trump had a son before Donald. We'll call him Junior. And unfortunately for Fred Trump, his first son didn't have the type of ambitions, goals, and dreams as he did. He was more of a wanderer, or to put more accurately, he was wanting to be a pilot. And so he went that direction. Luckily for Fred Trump, Donald Trump was just like him. And Donald Trump loved the real estate business.
He was the darling of the 80s, is seen in the 90s as a man in trouble.
Now, this part of Donald Trump's life is never taken into account when we bring up Donald Trump. We like to hear about how he was given $1 million and he had daddy's money and he was given everything. So he never worked really all that much to get where he is now. And I always tell this to people to try to put it into perspective how hypocritical and stupid this sounds, because it's like saying your parents gave you $100 and when you turn those $100 into 100,000, you then give credit to your parents because they gave you or loaned you $100. Now we're talking relative right here, right? Big money, him, $1 million to a billionaire is $100, if not less than that. So his dad made him work. When he was 13, his father made him work as a newspaper boy. And he was instilling in him the idea that no matter what happens, no matter what the day entails, you will work, you will show up. If the day was raining, his dad would take him in his Cadillac and drive him around his route. Beautiful. No excuses. Now, Donald Trump was a different kind of animal. I mean, his aggression, his belief that he must be the best at anything he does, it showed even in childhood. As I was researching his life, I came across what I believe are 5 fundamental beliefs that he had in his mind that pushed him forward and made him better than most people around him. One of those beliefs is that he must win. He likes winning. Now, winning for Donald Trump is a lot different from what you and I may believe winning is. Most of us believe winning is playing by the rules and being better and accomplishing through those boundaries of rules. That's not how Donald Trump views winning. See, for him, winning is not so much as important as appearing to be winning. Just the perception of winning was enough for Trump. And boy, did that get him far. Another belief that was really deep-seated in his mind was that you must fight for recognition. As I was researching, I came across a story and where he was telling, I don't know if it was a reporter or somebody, maybe it was his biography, a time where he had gone to a party. They had just constructed a beautiful bridge and they were celebrating the construction of the bridge. Now, while he was at this party, he realized that the engineer who designed this bridge was nowhere to be found. No one spoke his name. He was somewhere in the corner to himself. And he realized right there and then that if, and I quote, if you allow people to treat you how they want to treat you, you will forever be made a fool. And Donald Trump is no fool. Now, the third one that I discovered was that he believes that you should always fight back. Even if the odds are stacked against you, you never fold and you never, ever take accountability. Now, we see this today with how Donald Trump does his thing. But that is besides the point. I digress. The fourth thing that I discovered was that Donald Trump believes that glamour is a great distraction, right? He believes in beautiful excellence, in wealth, in status. And he realized that although many people do not dream big, they still enjoy watching people who do dream big do their thing. Sell a fantasy. That's exactly what he does. Now, the last one, this one took a little bit of reading between the lines. See, Donald Trump believes to be and acts as if he is a king. Something that his father instilled in him when he was a little boy, telling him, you must be a king, you must be a killer. Now, this is why I'm so deep into self-development and mindset. Because if this is what it takes for you to be a successful person, to think highly of yourself, to have a beautiful, strong self-image, if that is the secret, then any one of us can do it. You just need to change the script in your mind of who you are or who you believe you are. However, you should keep this in mind, that the work instills the worth. You can think what you want, believe what you want, but unless you put in that work and effort, you're just delusional. Back to Donald Trump. When he was in second grade, right? When he was in second grade, he actually was accused of punching his second grade music teacher in the face. Because, as he said, and I quote, he doesn't know anything about music. What a G. Now, because of this aggression, because of his behavior, at the age of 13, Donald Trump was sent to a military school.
Great choices I ever made in terms of success was the choice of going to NYMA, New York Military Academy.
Now, he claims it was a decision by him that he still believes was a great decision. Again, pointing back at how great he is. And this is where everything changed for him. In this school, it was very militant and it was very physical in how they would assign discipline. And believe it or not, Donald Trump thrived in it. That was his environment. That's how he liked to roll. Now, his competitive nature helped him excel in this program so well that he went through the ranks like no other and received so many awards in the most minimal things, such as having the best bed, the shiniest shoes, the best one in line. Whatever it was, he was the best. Think about it. This man believes he's the best. He puts in the work to show that he's the best. And as a result, he is the best. Reinforcing that belief in his mind that he is the best. Take notes. So he walked around that school telling everybody, I'm going to be famous one day. Another great thing that I noticed about him and that I admire. I am a firm believer in manifestation, but not in the way that wishy-washy women like to say it, where you're just attracting these things by doing nothing. No. I believe you can speak your future into existence. And as long as you put in that work, you will make it come to fruition. It's beautiful. So now fast forward a couple years and this man is in college. Now, at this point, he had managed to avoid the draft 3 separate times through something called an educational deferment. Now, you can go into detail what that is, but let's just say it was because he was in school. And when he had graduated college, he had delved deep into the family business, real estate. Now, during this time, he also managed to avoid the draft one more time. But this time was a little fishy. He had claimed, and his father had claimed, and the doctors have claimed, that there was something wrong with his heel bone, that there was no way he could be part of the United States military because he's not functioning down there. And by down there, I mean the fucking foot, right? So this was a little fishy because it seems as though when you dig deep into who these doctors were, they seem to have been working for or in the buildings that Donald Trump's father owned. So a little shady there, but I also am a strong believer if you have opportunities, if there are things that you can go around, if there are things that you can do that can help you sway around obstacles, why not take advantage of it? I'm tired of people with this moral superiority complex that claim that they would never do such a thing. That, oh no, I would never, or that's disgraceful, how could he? If you were in his shoes, you would do the exact same thing. How do I know? Abraham Lincoln said it himself. He said it himself. I don't know this quote exactly, but he said, if you were in that man's shoes, you would do the same thing. Under the same circumstances, under the same thoughts, under the same opportunities, you would do the same thing. I'm a firm believer in that. So, moving forward. Now, in 1973, Donald Trump and his father were handed a lawsuit by the DOJ, the Department of Justice, claiming that they were being discriminatory against Black and Hispanics. The way that they had found this out or gathered this kind of information was they would send a person of color into one of the apartment complexes trying to rent the room, and they would come back with receipts or filings that was asking them to pay double the price of the normal, price range that they would ask anyone else. Now, obviously they fought this, and I think they countersued the Department of Justice for over $100 million. They're fighting back. We're not taking that. Obviously, the judges dismissed that and were like, you are crazy. That's not happening. And at the end of it all, they lost the trial, and that was that. But Donald Trump, being the man that he is, was not going to accept this failure, let alone admit to it. So they managed to strike a deal in which they would not admit to fault. They would not admit that this was true. And instead, what they did was they paid whatever they had to pay. And then they went to the news media outlet, which was newspapers at the time, and printed out how welcomed the people of color are, that they want people of color in their buildings. Sneaky. Now, Trump learned very quickly and very fast how to manipulate media, how to use it to his advantage. He was great at it. I mean, he was a personality. He was very bold, very controversial, and very spontaneous. People love that. You create interest. People like that. He managed to do all that because he was so great at storytelling, at switching the narrative to something that would benefit him. Over-exaggerate his abilities, over-exaggerate the cost of what he has created, and over-exaggerate himself as a person, to the point where he became an over-the-top personality. People love that. Again, for people that don't dream big, they want to fantasize. They want to believe that something is the best. They want to believe that they're getting the best of the best, the greatest deal. They want that. And so they'll fall into it if you tell them. You see him carry that kind of personality and trait of being the best and picking the right people when being interviewed. I mean, we see it now when he was in his campaign track and he was being interviewed by the biggest podcast the media has ever seen, right? And not only just stepping into this, but dominating every single interview, breaking numbers, that no one has ever seen. He went on a Joe Rogan podcast.
Assassination attempts. And they've brushed those out of the news like it was nothing.
Yeah, they'd rather not talk about them.
Imagine if there was assassination attempts on Biden, how hard people would be attacking the right, how they would be trying to get guns taken away from people. They would try to ramp up gun laws. They would try to figure out some way to blame you.
Which Joe Rogan himself said many times he would never have him on. And within the first hour of that video upload, they broke 3 million views. That's insane. That's almost like the Tekashi thing when he first came out of jail and he, busted out his first song after he ratted on his whole team. Although rat is a strong word for what was going on, but that's another story for another day. So now we also have to keep in mind that we can't give all the credit to Trump here. He obviously has a great marketing team behind him. Just like anything else in this world, you need a great team. But where the credit is due is his son. His son is the one that had told him where to go, which podcasts to do, and how to get it done. So shout out to Barron. 6'9" motherfucker. He's great at getting your attention. You can't deny that. He would do anything. He would go to any extreme to inflate his personality and his own ego, I guess, right? He would inflate reality in magnitudes that are unbelievably hilarious, yet somehow people believe. I mean, he was known, and this came out, I'm going to show you guys a clip of him using a false alias, calling up a journalist. This was back in his day, and acting as the vice president of his company, or I guess his father's company at the time, lying about how much percentage of the company he actually owned to increase his perceived net worth. Again, winning's not about actually winning, but the perception of winning. Check it out.
Okay, and when you say, in excess of 90% of the ownership of the...
I'd say in excess of 90. In fact, it's really closer to even the ultimate, but it's in excess of 90%, yes.
You can clearly hear that it's him. The balls on this man. Today, we see Trump, and we don't seem to understand anything that he does. We only see what the media portrays him to be.
And with the mayor of Paris writing, "This is bad news for the world, democracies, Europe, climate, women, and Ukraine."
And as many of you guys know, if you guys actually do the research, it's all lies. I mean, it's all lies. It's all nonsense. It's all picked apart and put together to make him seem like the bad guy. If you guys weren't aware of this, before Donald Trump actually decided to run for office, he was a Democrat. And he was loved by everyone. Everyone. Oprah, The Rock, politicians, Obama. Everybody loved this man. How can you not? He was a great guy. To this day, I believe he is a great guy. So when he decided to run for president, that's when everything seemed to just change. Out of nowhere, everybody that he used to know, celebrities, politicians, old friends, old business partners, just seemed to just switch their views on him. Just out of nowhere. That's suspicious. Why? One can say it's because he switched his political view, which is fair, but when you have all these people at once kind of do that and out of nowhere, something is fishy there. Something is very fishy there that you should be looking into. Now, Donald Trump has been speaking about being president for as long as anyone can remember. I don't think I was even born when he was on TV talking about possibly running for president one day. But if you've been able to gather what I've been putting down and have seen or kind of have an idea of how he is and was, you would know that this is the kind of man that if he sets his mind onto something, he is going to do it, regardless of what anybody thinks and regardless of who is supporting him. So when the time came and Obama, this was during Obama's time, had publicly humiliated him.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
By stating that there's one thing in this world that Trump, has done. I don't remember the exact quote, but he said, one thing that I've done that you will never be is president of the United States of America. Now, I'm pretty sure this was like a roast the president kind of event. But since everybody was so brainwashed and this was the black hero of the time, nobody really focused on roasting the guy, right? Everybody turned their face to Trump and roasted him. Why? We all know why. So when this happened and everybody seemed in this event to target Trump, this lit a fire in Trump. Like, okay, motherfucker. Not only has everybody else said the same thing that I can't do it, now I'm going to do it. So this is revenge. Guys, as men, your revenge on anyone is success. Your revenge is coming up on top and spitting in their face saying, fuck you, I did it, and I told you I was going to do it. That's your revenge. Whether it's to an old friend who betrayed you, a girl who left you, gosh, shit, even your parents, success is the best revenge. Sorry, I'm getting a little too fucking excited. It's just, this fires me up. I can relate to this kind of thing. So Donald Trump, after all that, decided, okay, we're going to do this time and we're going to win. Because that's how he's always thought. And that's what he's done. Not only once, but twice. Now look, regardless of what you think about this guy, you have to understand where he comes from. And you have to give him credit. Because they did not make this road easy for this guy at all. The media all turned their guns on him, made anything that he said sound super horrific, made anything that he ever did sound worse than it was, and even digged into like past deals that he had made and tried to just formulate some kind of plot against him to put him in jail for. Something about real estate deals and lying about the worth of a property. If you're in real estate, you know that people in real estate do this all the time. And it's not so much that they're lying about the value of something, but it's more so that they're adding the value of what they are going to put into this property and they believe is gonna raise that property's value. I'm not too keen on how real estate works. That is loosely what I believe is kind of the process that most real estate people do, realtors. So Donald Trump didn't do anything different than what most realtors do, if at all. And if the banks were lied to, which I don't know if you've ever tried to get a loan from a bank, the motherfuckers are stingy. They do their work. They make sure you have things to back it up, assets, right? Anything as collateral. So they're not just going to willy-nilly give you this freaking money. And if you have credibility behind you, like Donald Trump does, it's even easier to get a loan. Not to mention the sexual assault cases that these women had been throwing at him. Like any successful man in the 21st century, it seems like if you're successful and you're a man, you done touched or hurt some woman somehow, some way. Do I believe some women get taken advantage of? Yes, of course, that does happen. That doesn't take away from that fact. But it does seem that nowadays, after the whole Me Too movement, every man has done messed up. Like, let's be real here. If you're in California and you were a child, we all remember what Slap Ass Friday was. And if you don't, then maybe I had a crazy childhood and I might just be putting myself out there. But we were all kids, okay? We've all been to Hooters before. We've all done some crazy stuff. That doesn't take away who this man is now. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And to go into a personal conversation like they did when he had, stated, grab her by the pussy. I don't know what they're allowing in YouTube here. I want to make sure that this is as appropriate as I can make it. That was really just out of bounds. It was messed up because as men, we've all had this kind of locker room talk. And if you are a famous person, you know that what he said is true, which was when you are wealthy and you are famous, women tend to throw themselves at you. Okay? And this is also another truth of the world. If you are, let's say, someone like me, I'm not that attractive. And I try to go and talk to a girl and say something that a freaking model or Brad Pitt can say to a girl, I'm going to get hit with an SA charge right off rip. But if Brad Pitt were to go to that same girl and tell her the same thing that I said, he's most likely going to get laid. This is the reality of life. You have to know this. Whether women want to admit it or not, this is the reality of life. And when there's money and there's wealth, women tend to do those things. Now, I don't blame the victims here. That's not what I'm saying. If there ever were victims that actually went through this, I'm sorry to hear that. That is unfortunate. Do make your voice be heard. But this just seemed too coincidental, too close together, too plotted. So after all that, all the tarnishing of his name, all the lies they made of this man, he somehow won the first election. And after that, after being impeached, after going through scrutiny again throughout his presidency, and even after being blamed during the Biden administration the whole time, it seemed like the whole time the Biden administration was just blaming Trump, he still won again. Now that's a winner. And for the love of God, let's not forget that this man was almost killed twice. 2 times. Like any great president before him, assassination attempts seem to always happen to the good ones, to the ones that are making a change. Abraham Lincoln. Not Robert Kennedy. John F. Kennedy. The people that were really making moves, really making the difference, somehow seem to always get killed. Now, I believe Donald Trump was meant to die that day. But by the grace of God, this man survived. Not only did he survive like the G that he is, but he stood up, fist high, not scared, and saying, fight. Now, that's a fucking gangster in my book, homie. I know a fucking G when I see one. I knew he was one since 2016. Something about him I knew was different. So now that everybody loves him, I'm like, yeah, you're a little late to the party. But I'm glad you're reasonable in your awakening. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys learned anything about Donald Trump, I hope it's something that can help your life. Something that can change your mindset, how you view yourself, how you should conduct yourself accordingly, and how sometimes angels come in orange skins. You guys have a good time and a good night.